This video does not endorse, promote, or glorify any form of illegal or harmful activity. Hey guys, young Psychonaut here, back at it again with another video, and today it's gonna be a short and sweet one, and I'm just gonna tell you how not to do DXM. I've seen so many comments about DXM, positive or negative, and I'm just gonna be 100% transparent, 100% honest about how I approach DXM and how I keep it fun and keep basically all the negatives out of the way. Of course, there will always be negatives with drug use. I'm not saying this is safe. I'm not saying this method is safe. I'm just saying that I have adhered to this method for the last year and I have had no problems with DXM use. Okay, so let's just start with dosing. I know most people that try DXM dose at least 150, maybe 200 milligrams plus to get to, I don't know, first, second, third plateau. And I personally think that this is totally the wrong way to approach DXM. And honestly, I'm not sure you're really gonna have that much fun on higher plats when it comes to DXM. Let me explain. First of all, I'm going to be very clear about this. I do not think DXM is worth it without weed. So I've used DXM for about a year, 1.5 years on and off now, and I always paired it with cannabis, with weed, and I always had a good time. Then during the summer vacation, I was in Japan, where I did not have access to any kind of cannabis, and I also did not want to be caught there with any kind of weed, so I didn't smoke or whatever, I didn't vape anything for 3 weeks. I did, however, find some DXM in Japan, some pure DXM pills. So I bought them and I tried them. And first I tried my normal dosage, didn't feel basically anything. Then I tried a little bit more, like 150 milligram. I felt very lightly woozy, maybe a little bit stimulated, but the whole experience was total ass. And I've also tried DXM a few times without weed for like 200 plus milligram. It was always a big letdown. From my perspective, I'm just gonna say it, don't do any DXM if you don't have any weed, or if you don't like weed, maybe DXM is just not for you. Again, I'm not talking about mystical experiences, higher plat, whatever. I'm just talking about taking DXM and having a good fun time. So first of all, you just need weed for DXM to be fun, in my opinion. I've had many friends who tried DXM without weed, and then I introduced them to the fact that you should do weed with DXM, and they were like, wow, this is like a total game changer. I'm never going to do DXM without weed again. It just doesn't make a lot of sense if you've tried it with weed to do it without. Okay, with that out of the way, let's get into dosing, because this is where I think 99% of people fuck up with DXM. So let's look at this sheet that I made. So here's my properties basically. So here's my weight. I'm 85 kilograms, which is 187 pounds. Then I'm 185 centimeter tall, which is about 6 feet, maybe 6'1". But yeah, so these are my stats. And here you can see how I approach dosing. So here we have the dosages. Then we have the minimum waiting period that I personally, this is not based on research, this is not based on external sourcing. This is what I found to be true among myself and among everybody that I've ever interacted with that did DXM. Also with stories from you guys, from the comments, I kind of really feel like every comment that's negative about DXM kind of talks about these higher dose ranges. Here I have the instant relative toxicity from 0 to 10. Of course, again, this is just based on my experience. This is just based on what I see around me, what I see in pop culture, what I see in people's comments, and what I also have experienced myself when taking higher doses. And the last row is basically the plateau that I would get when I take this dose. So yeah, let's get into it. I mean, you can already see from the colors that I have applied that these, or even like just the first row, is basically where 99% of my DXM use happens. It is within therapeutic dose. So these are actually dosages that are listed on the package itself for just taking it for cough relief. So I'm literally just taking as much as the pharmaceutical company that made it prescribe people to take it basically. The thing is, when you combine it with cannabis and weed, I can actually get significant effects in these dose ranges. Without weed, basically nothing. So let's look at it. Okay, so less than 50 milligrams, that's just one capsule from my stash. I would say wait about like a week, maybe a small week, 5 days. So like if you just would have taken it for cough relief, there's also no real reason to like not do it after a few days again. I don't think there's going to be a lot of problems with that. Same with the relative instant toxicity. I would say it's basically 0. Maybe it's 0.5 because yes, of course, a pharmaceutical in your body will do something. But yeah, this is basically how the manufacturers intended you to use it. I would say the relative toxicity is really, really small. And this is plateau 0. So if we're going to look at the plateaus, so here I have my DXM tripsit calculator. I put in my weight and I'm just putting 1 milligram per milliliter. So that means that this is just in milligram basically. And it says here that the first plateau, I already need about 120 to 200 milligram to get to the first plateau. So this is not even the first plateau. And honestly, this is the range where I feel like I have the most fun. I'm watching movies, I'm listening to music, I'm doing gardening work. Like this is so much fun for me. Therapeutic doses here for like 50 to 100 milligram. I would wait a little bit longer, maybe like a little bit more than a week. It has a little bit more toxicity, but it's not that much, and still like plateau 0. So this is really the range where I would say do this. And I mean, obviously, if you are not as sensitive as me to DXM, then maybe you take a little bit more. But I'm going to be honest, if you are very insensitive to DXM, like you need 200 milligram plus to feel anything with weed, maybe DXM is just not the substance for you. Or as we can see from this sheet, once we get above 100 milligrams, I would already suggest waiting a few weeks between dosages. I would say the toxicity really sharply increases around this point, where there's definitely no therapeutic benefit anymore, but it's really going to strain your body more and more. This is where my first plateau starts. So I don't even do first plateau doses. Actually, the last time I did 150 milligram, I just didn't have that much of a good time. Honestly, I wouldn't even go higher than 90 milligram. For me, for my sensitivity and my weight and height, etc. Okay, yeah, and then for like, this is where most people start. So this is like, yeah, for me, it would be second plat, but here I would already wait like 5 weeks, like more than a month, definitely between these doses, because this is really taxing on the body and this is really going to be pretty detrimental if you do it often. And here I just put 250 milligram plus because I've never even like taken 250 milligrams more than a few times. And I would honestly wait months between this, maybe 2 months or something, to really give your system a good reset. And I would say that toxicity is already pretty high in this range because, I mean, DXM is pretty bad for your brain if you take high doses. Like, it would make no sense that DXM would be bad for your brain on therapeutic doses. The FDA would have never approved this if a therapeutic dose would already cause significant negative health effects. And again, I'm not saying FDA is always right, but in this case, I would say it's pretty logical. Just to recap everything, the holy trinity of taking DXM is a little bit of DXM, some weed, and then some more weed. If you follow this, I'm betting on it that you have way more fun time than taking high doses without weed, without whatever. Yeah, again, like, I'm very sensitive to DXM, so I can have a lot of fun with DXM in very, very low doses. But if you cannot have a lot of fun with DXM in low doses, I would say maybe it's just not worth the risk. Right? Just maybe not do it if you need high amounts to feel anything. And I think a lot of people go wrong with this, where they really think like, I'm taking 150 milligram, 200 milligram doses every few days, and that's just simply wrong. Yeah, I just wanted to say, like, please approach DXM with caution, but if you're gonna follow this plan, I think it's gonna be pretty cool. It's gonna be pretty nice. And this is not an endorsement to try DXM. I'm not saying you should try DXM. I'm saying if you have the plan to try DXM independently, then this is really about harm reduction and about having the best time with the least amount of negative side effects. So yeah, guys, this was not a very long video, but I just wanted to get this off my chest because I feel a lot of people just simply misinterpret DXM as a substance, and a lot of people could have way more fun on DXM if they just take less and combine it with weed. That's all I want to say for this video. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.